Okay, good morning. This is the September 21st, 2023 meeting of the Syracuse Regional Board of Review. This hearing is being held via video conference call WebEx at the following location: Hughes State Office Building, Main Hearing Room, first floor, 333 East Washington Street, Syracuse, New York, 13202. The time is 9:34 a.m. and this hearing is officially open. The members of the board are to my far right, Thomas Parsons; to my right, Jeffrey Hindeleiter; to my left, Gail Swistak; and joining us via WebEx are Mark Kavanaugh and James Burton. My name is Andrew Garlock, Chairman. From the Department of State is Tom DiTullio. We will now hear the scheduled petitions. When you speak, please address the board and give your name, title, and legal address so that our court reporter can have all of the information requested. We may have to stop from time to time to consult with our technical staff. In making comments to the board, please provide a descriptive narrative on matters referring to your exhibits to enable the court reporter to enter these into the record. First hearing. This hearing is in the matter of D Block 21 LLC, petition number 2023-0404. We have the applicant here.
Yes.
Okay.
Marima Smagic, on behalf of D Block 21 LLC, I'm the sole owner, sole member.
Okay, would you like to discuss your application and your petition?
Yes, so just to answer what you had said initially, the legal address is 400 Rutgers Street, Utica, New York, 13501. And the mailing address I have is P.O. Box 251, Utica, New York, 13503. And again, I am the sole owner, sole member of D Block 21 LLC. It is currently, it's 4 apartments in that building. It's a brick building, and there is a third floor apartment. It actually had a kitchen and a bathroom, bedrooms, you could live in it, but I was being told that it was not legal. So I had the fire marshal's office come out to do an inspection, to do a 1203 on the entire building. And everything else, I really redid all the apartments up to code, and I got the proper building permits. But with respect to that 5th unit on the 3rd floor, from what the fire marshal told me, and I believe it's cited in the application, I would need to, I don't know what section offhand of the code that is not compliant with, but the ceilings in the basement would need it to be drywalled in, which in order for it to be up to code. And that is something that's very burdensome for me. And I did submit photographs, and I believe it's exhibits A and B, that shows that all my plumbing and wiring is in the ceilings of the basement for all the units for the entire building. So I'm seeking a variance for that in order to be able to complete this 5th apartment. I also did provide photographs in Exhibit C and D, I believe it was. I do have a fire escape for that building and for that 5th apartment. And I do have 2 means of egress, if that is relevant. So that is my understanding from the fire marshal's office. And that is why I am applying for a variance with you folks today. If you have any other questions for me, I'll just defer to the application at this point.
Okay, thank you.
How do you pronounce your first name?
Marima.
Marima? And
Yes.
how do you pronounce your last name?
Smagic, like magic.
Okay.
Any questions from the board for the applicant?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make the following motion.
Okay, we have a motion.
In the matter of petition number 2023-040, applicant Marima Smagic of D Block 21 LLC for a variance to Chapter 61B of the Consolidated Laws of New York Multiple Residence Law upon the application of Rima Shmashik of D Block 21 LLC, PO Box 251, Utica, New York 13503, filed pursuant to 19 NYCRR 1205 on August 2nd, 2023. And upon all other papers in this matter, the department makes the following determination. The petition pertains to relief sought for violation of the multiple residence law, unprotected basement ceiling for an existing 3-story, 3,515 square feet, 5 dwelling unit apartment building located at 400 Rutgers Street, City of Utica, County of Oneida, State of New York. Relief is requested from Chapter 61B of the Consolidated Laws of New York State, Multiple Residence Law, Article 3, Section 30, cellar ceilings, which states in that every such dwelling 3 stories or more in height, the ceiling of the cellar or the lowest story, if there shall be no cellar, if there be no cellar, shall be fire retarded or equipped with a sprinkler system unless such ceiling is already been plastered to the satisfaction of the department. The petitioner requests relief to provide alarms and detector in lieu of installing plaster or gypsum board to the basement ceiling framing. In the findings of facts, the petition pertains to a 3-story in height, 5 dwelling unit apartment building located at 400 Rutgers Street, City of Utica, County of Oneida, State of New York. The building that is subject to the petition is properly classified under Chapter 61B of the Consolidated Laws of New York, Multiple Residence Law, Article 1, Section 433, as a multiple dwelling. Subject building is required to conform to the provisions of Article 3 of the Multiple Residence Law as provided in Section 25, in that it existed on or before July 1st, 1952, or was converted to a multiple dwelling after July 1st, 1952, and is not a hotel or similar dwelling subject to Article 4 of the Multiple Residence Law. The building is the subject of the petition as a 3-story wood frame with brick veneer, approximately 3,515 square feet in area, with 5 dwelling units in total. The building was constructed on or about circa 1900 as an apartment building. The petitioner has provided photos noting the presence of plumbing, heating, and ventilation ducts and wiring in the ceiling. Petitioner contends that installing fire-rated gypsum board would physically be impracticable due to the existence of obstructions of which some of the mechanical equipment cannot be easily removed without shutting down the building and forcing tenants from their dwellings. The Utica Fire Marshal's inspection report states the building is otherwise in compliance with all others, local and state building codes and local ordinances. The local code official has been consulted in this matter and supports the granting of the variance under Part 1205 with conditions provided by the board. The building shall otherwise comply with all other state, local building codes and local ordinances. In conclusion of law, the proposed variance will not substantially adversely affect the code's provision for health, safety, and security. Strict compliance with the provisions of the Uniform Fire Prevention and Building Code would entail practical difficulties. Economic hardship would otherwise be unwarranted because such would create an excessive, unreasonable economic burden, would not achieve its intended objective, would be physically or legally impracticable, would be unnecessary in light of alternatives which, without a loss of the level of safety, achieve the intended objective of the code. Wherefore, it is determined that the application for a variance from Chapter 61B, the Consolidated Laws of New York, Multiple Residence Law, Article 3, Section 30, be and is hereby proposed to be granted with the following conditions. 1, that 2 smoke alarm devices be provided in the cellar. 2, that a smoke alarm be provided in each dwelling unit in front and rear exit stairways. 3, that a heat alarm be provided in the occupied side of 1 entrance door to the 5 dwelling units, and that all the above noted smoke and heat alarms shall be interconnected together. This decision is limited to the specific building application before it as contained within the petition and should not be interpreted to give applied approval of any general plan specifications presented in support of this application in ISO.
Aye.
I second.
Okay, I have a second. I'll pull the board. Ms. Swistak,
Aye.
Mr. Hinderleiter,
Aye.
Mr. Parsons,
Aye.
Mr. Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Chair votes aye, 5 ayes, no nays. The petition is granted.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to our second hearing. This hearing is in the matter of Francis Olorenshaw, petition number 2023-0421. Do we have the applicant here to discuss the petition?
On our internet, so
Somebody on?
Brandon, coming. Might be muted.
Mr. Olenshaw, can you unmute yourself?
She's not muted. She's just not responding.
Oh,
Does the board have any discussions? Any questions that we would have? Do we have a motion?
I would like,
Sorry, I was trying to unmute. Just on the discussion on a second means of egress. That I don't think we had support from the local fire marshal on that. Is that correct?
we had questions in the local fire marshal about this. And I talked to him and he didn't have a comment either way on that.
Okay. And then I'd like to hear from the representative of the facility. I'm trying to understand. I get the challenges with the basement, but trying to understand the size of the basement and then the construction of the building as a balloon frame and those types of questions.
All right, let me try to call them, okay? Hold on.
I also like to understand why they can't put a fire escape up there.
I think one of the issues is the fire escape couldn't go across the windows below. They'd have to put fire shutters.
Correct. My fire shutters are rated glass. I understand.
Yep.
It appears those dormers have been added, so is this an attic conversion? Or were they just rebuilt? I mean, the one dormer looks fairly new. Is it a D or photo D?
There was no indication on their review that there was not.
The dormer there previously?
There was not an issue with the dorm being added, so it must have been added by a permit of some type.
Okay. It looks like there's new flashing, so it,
Because they would have notified, they would have verified and that would have been
Legally,
a permit.
a legally converted
Right.
floor.
Right. Again, may have been added at one time to increase additional lighting. It's probably legal at the time it was constructed, in their opinion.
It's like windows,
Yeah.
new siding.
It's like a brand new. The other one looks like it's.
we had any luck,
Yeah, he's gonna try to call in instead. He's having trouble with his mic.
Yeah.
proportions of everything?
Just being the other side. So I wonder if that was an old dormer and this was one that they.
Hold back to 2018 Google Earth. Taking notes.
Both dormers were there.
It may have been at least 7, 8 years or something. Because they do 3 years. Inspections.
Because the only,
So
looking at the roof. Yeah. Yeah. Mhm. Say these are 3 units then, or is it 2 units?
3. 3 units.
3 units.
Yep.
Do you need the meeting number and the password?
I mean,
Yep, yep, meeting number is 1614 42.
Egress sprinkling is the alternative to a fire escape, right? In and out.
Yeah. That's-
Okay.
Well, they can get 7 if they have enough pressure to get 7. Should have service.
Galvanized.
Yeah. And they're usually plugged up.
Yeah.
Do we have a code enforcement officials report on this one? I mean, I understand the inspection report, but usually I thought I read somewhere that the code enforcement official didn't support it.
Well, I contacted him and he sent me an email back. We just added that to it. I can see if he's available. All the notices were sent to him, so sometimes he's on,
Right.
sometimes he's not.
Right, that's fine. Just thought I read it somewhere, so just looking through and I don't see.
Yeah, usually if there's an issue, he lets me know right away.
But that's it. Escape.
Francis, can you hear us now?
Yes, I can.
Okay, there you go.
We can hear you.
All right, so do you want to present your case to the board?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm sure that they have the paperwork on, what my issues were. I spoke with my local fire marshal, and he, recommended that I, try to file for variances on 3 different things for the house. One being fire escape. Second was basement ceilings, and third was a fire door going to the basement. As far as the fire escape, I mean, there's not a great place to put it, for one, and secondly, I mean, it's going to be super costly to do, and it's not really, something I can afford at this time.
Okay.
the basement ceilings, I mean, they're covered with, you know, all sorts of piping, ductwork, electrical wires, plumbing lines. There's just, you know, so much going on there that to try to cover that up would be, I mean, there'd be holes everywhere. So, I mean, I don't want to say it's impossible, but it'd be quite near impossible to, I mean, especially for it to be like properly done to where, you know, everything would be sealed up and taped and whatever. It just, there'd be so many different cutouts. It'd be like Swiss cheese.
Can I go your back?
And then as for the fire door going into the basement, the problem with that would be getting a custom sized door to fit the opening. And I know that that's going to be, you know, very costly.
So from my perspective, and this is Jeff Hinderleiter, I'm not as concerned about the cellar ceiling issue or the cellar stair door issue. Those are pretty common for us to encounter in these old houses. My main concern is the request for eliminating the fire escape. Have you evaluated, because the MRL allows you to do the fire escape, or in lieu of the fire escape, in lieu of that second means of egress, that an egress sprinkler system can be put in public halls and stairs. Have you evaluated installing that sprinkler system?
Well, I know to install a sprinkler system, it's going to be, you know, quite costly as well.
Well, it's not a traditional residential sprinkler system that you would see where each of the dwelling units gets fully sprinklered. It is quite simply a head in the stairways for people to get down. Basically, you're going to protect the single means of egress that you have in the event of a fire, that stairwell where they would exit from will be protected. So they don't need the second in case the fire is in the first. So they're typically they are allowed to go off of your domestic water service. They're a much simpler system. I'm hesitant for me, I'm hesitant to entertain giving a variance to the second means of egress if that has not been looked at, or if that's somehow infeasible. The code is given two paths. If you can't, because in looking at your windows, there would be great expense and fire shutters and other things on the outside of the building, and pretty heavy modification to get a fire escape in. But your application speaks nothing of what it would be or what's the impact for having to install a simple sprinkler system in the hallways.
Well, I think the biggest trouble would be getting water to that point, you know, getting plumbing lines. I mean, you'd have to open the walls up, you know, hire a plumber, have them come in and, you know, plumb a new water source going to that point. Would, you know, obviously getting up to that third floor would be probably a task. I mean, you know, obviously, you know, I'm not going to say that it couldn't be done, but I do also think it'd be quite costly.
This is Mark Kavanaugh. A question I have is on that third floor. It looks like that dormer is new. Are you renovating the third floor?
No, I was putting some new siding on.
And then do you have is it currently rented?
No.
Okay. And then do you know the square footage of your basement?
I do have it written down if you give me a second here. So it's about 1,800 square feet, I'd say. I think what I have written there.
Good sized basement. Okay, thank you.
Do we have any other questions from the board members? Mr. Olenshaw, I have the similar concerns with the egress from the third floor. I don't think any information in the application has been provided to warrant a variance from either the fire escape or the sprinklering of the stairs and the halls for the single means of egress. We often do see the ceilings of these basements very much like yours, where it's difficult or nearly impossible to install a rated ceiling. So that is something that we've dealt with. But the means of egress is strictly very important for the life safety of the building. Any other questions? Is there anything else that you'd like to add? Mr. Olenshaw?
I guess I've, said everything I can. I mean, as I said, I mean, to put a fire escape on, that would be very costly, especially since, it's got to be made out of metal and everything. And then, I mean, to do a sprinkler system is somewhat feasible, but I feel as though, also a lot of walls would have to get ripped open, ceilings would have to get ripped open, and, labor and plumbers aren't cheap. So, I mean, I guess that would probably be a cheaper route than a fire escape, but I don't know by how much. I foresee that costing several $1,000s as well, minimum.
Well, so I mean, from our side, you're planning on renting all 3 units, correct?
I would like to have it legal and have the capability of renting it, yes.
Yeah, so from our
At this
perspective,
point,
your intention is to place people to live and occupy that 3rd floor. And so since it's going to be occupied, we want it safe. We want your tenants to pay you rent for a long time, to live a long time, and that building to continue its use. And so there's a measure where the whatever we pick, if your application showed that you had done a flow analysis and a pressure analysis to say, this is the water pressure I have, and I can't get, the city physically can't provide me the water to get to the 3rd floor because I don't have enough head pressure, or the water service, and the water service is going to be, $20,000 for new water, sir, and you're able to show the difficulty is outside of your, reasonableness. That changes the tone of granting a variance. Because right now you haven't demonstrated in your application that the sprinkler system is a hardship, other than I think it's going to be expensive.
Well, I mean, I know it's going to be expensive.
Sure.
I mean, I wouldn't think. But
your application says nothing about that, or that analysis was done. It's just asking for no fire escape. So as your application and where we stand.
Well, I mean, I didn't add that into my application because I thought that the actual variance was solely for an extra egress. So I only elaborated on, actually having a fire escape put in. I, didn't know that there was a stipulation to that where I didn't know if I had a sprinkler system that would exempt me, I guess is what I'm saying. I thought it was 2 exits or nothing.
I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna give you some time to look at that sprinkler option. So what I would like to do is make a motion to table this to our next month's meeting to give you, the applicant, an opportunity to receive a quote and actually come back with your application, to amend your application with that dollar value. I would like to see that and to see, get Tom DiTilio, the representative Department of State, will reach out to you to get the information we need. But I think that would be helpful in, at least in my decision making.
Okay,
I'll second.
Yeah, I mean, I understand.
got a motion to table. I have a second. I'll pull the board. Mr. Stack,
Aye.
Mr. Hinderleiter,
Aye.
Mr. Parsons,
Aye.
Mr. Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. 5 ayes, no nays. The petition is till a future meeting.
Mr. DiTilio will be reaching out to you, sir.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, be going into our third hearing. Mr. Parsons will be recusing himself. Have James Burton joining us via WebEx. Jim on,
He may be coming in person.
maybe coming in person.
Yeah.
Okay. Jim may be joining us either via WebEx or in person, but he will be filling the seat for Mr. Parsons. So third hearing, this hearing is in the matter of Cornell University. You want to wait for him?
Yeah, we have.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll go on a recess, go off the record.
We're off the record.
Okay, we're going to reopen the hearing. We're going to go into our third hearing. This hearing is in the matter of Cornell University, Duffield Hall, petition number 2023-0263. We have the applicant here to discuss the project and the petition.
My name is Thomas King. I'm the Director of Facilities for the College of Engineering at Cornell. Thank you so much for having us back again today. Appreciate it. We're here to continue to have you hear our request for a variance to separate Duffield Hall from Phillips Hall, campus of Cornell University in New York. We'd like to clarify our intent here. We are seeking a variance to separate, from a building code perspective, Duffield Hall and Phillips Hall on the Cornell University campus. This variance application is not because of any one particular project that we're looking to do or that happened, but it's rather about maintaining operations for this facility for which it was designed for, that have been conducted in the facility since its opening in 2004, and providing clarity to the code path for future projects that regularly happen in the facility. We have new faculty and things that come on board. We do lab renovations for each individual lab in the building. The need for this variance has risen solely out of existing conditions in the facility and code sections that apply retroactively. In particular, Chapter 27 of the Fire Code and the requirement for H5 areas to be fully sprinklered buildings. This was brought up during a recent project during which the City of Ithaca Building Division identified our non-compliance. The variance is to remedy that non-compliance for Duffield Hall. Coincidentally, we happen to be at the beginning of a very large capital project for Phillips Hall. It provided that pre-schematic design in response to your questions and purposes. The intent is for that project to fully comply with all applicable codes, and that project is a separate thing from this variance and the ongoing operations of the facility. We feel that there may have been a miscategorization of a relationship with IFD at the last hearing. The notice of violations that were mentioned were not the result of inspections that were conducted or because of our lack of response to prior requests for information. The notice of violation was the mechanism that IFD used to request that information for the first time from Cornell. We responded to both notices promptly, and we feel that we have a good working relationship with IFD. We've been working closely with them since the non-compliance was identified, and through this variance application process. This is a bit of a chicken and egg situation because the H5 areas are required to be in a sprinkler building. Some of the notices of violation apply to the H5 areas, which you can't have unless it's a sprinkler building. So we're trying to get this variance to say, yes, Duffield is sprinkler, you can have these, then deal with the non-compliance with them have. So we hope that you found our reply to your request for information in order. And we're here today to answer any questions that you may have and hopefully get your support for this variance. So with that, we'll open it up. If you guys have any questions.
Okay. Do we have any questions
We
from
have
the
our-
board members?
We're here from SWBR, Steve.
Would anybody else on the applicant's side like to present?
No other opening remarks. We're just opening up for you guys to have questions.
I'll start.
Okay.
I'd like to get a little bit of information on the record this morning, Tom, that pertains to an email sent by the city to Mr. DiTullio at 8:45 this morning. And I just want to, I appreciate very much your working with the local authorities to overcome some of these violations. But according to the city, they indicate in this email that there was a meeting last Monday where they were expecting to be presented with a plan for compliance to address the issues that they had raised. But according to the city, and I quote, it was clear that they, meaning Cornell, were still wrestling with how to comply. They also indicate that they do not have at this time enough details in the document that she's presented to call it a compliance plan. So I'd like you to comment on those revelations that just came to us this morning, if you would, please.
Okay, yes. So these are specific items related to the H5 operations. So these are really truly operational things. And there's very few times in the code when it specifically requires certain people to be present at certain times and response teams with certain training done. And again, we're not even supposed to have this H5 unless it's in a sprinkler building, which is why we're here to get the sprinkler building thing. So we've hired a consultant, Hallam. They're already underway. They've started working on, and a part of our original application said all of our H5 issues we're going to study because like the sprinkling of the ductwork, what qualifies as a command center, how you deal with the response team, what it looks like. We feel that there's a lot of potential ways that those issues can be solved. And so we wanted to bring on a consultant that has worked on these types of areas and knows the solutions that have been done in other jurisdictions. They can help advise us on what may be the best ways to solve those. So Hallam's been brought on board there. He started working with us. And we've talked to several other jurisdiction owners that have these similar type facilities. We're gathering that information as being part of our response to how to staff these positions, teams, and where this command center will be located. So we're committed to resolving these issues to the satisfaction of IFD. We're continuing to work with them. We responded after the meeting, sent the initial plan. They commented back yesterday that they wanted more details. We answered some of those questions late yesterday, and we'll continue to work to resolve them. We were going to resolve them to their satisfaction. So that will be resolved. Thing is separating the buildings and saying, yes, Duffield is fully sprinklered is what we have put into the variance. So the variance application is strictly about that. These issues are, if you have an H5, yes, then you have to resolve these. So either we would have to deal with this. This kind of, we see it as kind of separate from the variance because it's an operations thing dealing with H5. So we're going to resolve it. We're committed to doing that. We've hired Hallam. And again, we feel like we've been transparent with IFD. We've always worked with them and they've been involved with this process all the way. So we're going to resolve those issues. As you know, there's a lot of different ways to resolve staffing and these potential things. So we have an initial plan. We're going to continue to evolve it based on their questions and feedback.
So I'd just like to point out that when we prepared the list of additional documentation that we were hoping to see in the result of this matter, one of those items was that you would have consultants with specific experience and expertise in high hazard occupancies. We were, I guess, kind of hoping that one of those people would be present today, even if they didn't have an opportunity to complete their analysis and offer remedial plans or options, that they would be able to speak to their experience and how that translates to the issues at this part of your campus, and help us to, get to a point where we can advance that.
Yeah, so the company we hired is Hallam. They're very versed in these types of facilities and they've worked in Duffield before. So they are on board now. They've already started their work and they were on campus yesterday, reviewing conditions and gathering field information for the report. So I can say, yes, they're hired and yes, they're on board and they have great qualifications. I'm sure Mr. Parsons would give a reference for them. He has reviewed their work before. So we don't have them here though. I'm sorry that we didn't bring them today, but yes, they're on board and they're working with us. And I don't know if Rob or Jill has any experience with them, but they're very versed in these types of facilities and we're looking for their advice.
Okay. I know that one of your statements, you're trying to separate the Duffield Hall issue from what's happening in Phillips. But it just, you kind of were saying coincidentally, you have this capital program occurring.
It's good or bad timing, how you look at it.
Yeah, and for us, when we look at particularly these type of things, we know that colleges, their facilities, that they tend to Frankenstein, for less of a worse of a term, that they grow, and we know that there's intentions to grow. And we've seen that already in this case, where you had separate buildings that were filled in with an atrium that connected them, and then actions were taken to try to make them separate. And so it is relevant what's happening across the way from a perspective from us, because we do our best to mitigate risks, but we have to know what the risks are.
Yeah.
And so when we're evaluating this, knowing that another large building, code compliant building, is going to be added, another addition to this building, which is already very large, and happens to be neighbor to an H5, that for us, at least from my perspective, trying to look at the implications of, well, if we call this another building, and we're going to grant this variance and treat that as a separate building to help. What are the risks to that facility by adding more facilities? And what are those going to be? And so as we've talked with other institutions that are trying to do similar things and trying to advance and invest in their facilities to continue to stay competitive, our perspective is we want to encourage that. We as a state, as a region, benefit from these things. But we also have the burden to make sure that we see the full picture, so we know we're not going to miss a risk that maybe should be mitigated against.
Totally understand that. We're happy to share those initial documents with you. I just want to make sure that we're not trying to gain some advantage for that project.
Sure.
Through this. We haven't thought of that at all. So yeah, it'll deal with its stuff on its own.
Is the proposed schematics, are these proposed to be, I didn't see anything about, adding to the fire area at Phillips Hall in the future through these future concepts. So I have two questions as it relates to that. Would you be adding then to the building area effectively of Phillips Hall? What approximately would that look like if so? And the second question would be, are these concepts infeasible without this variance?
we are adding to the area of those. Yes, I don't know if the square footage is in there. I don't have it off the top of my head, but I think it's in the documents there. And there, again, the building itself, the project itself would be, your last part of your question was, sorry, say it again.
Without this variance today or that you're seeking, are these proposed concepts infeasible? As in, could these concepts be built to Phillips Hall with firewalls where you would not be increasing the building area?
Yeah, well, part of the project would be it would be sprinkling in Phillips Hall. So that's why we asked for the 5 years, because part of this project would be sprinkling it. So therefore, the whole complex would be considered fully sprinkled. So
Okay.
that issue, yeah, so that the concepts are feasible, I believe, because they are sprinkled at the building.
Once you've gotten to
Yeah.
that point.
Mike Nikodovich, Niechdowiacz. I know I should have warned you.
I'm sorry, could you spell that again, please?
Like I said, I should have warned you. N as in Nancy, Niechdowiacz, C as in cat, Z as in zebra, and Tom can help you out if you need Tom DiTullio, sorry. To answer your question, yes, the project is feasible without the variance. The area of the building will be compliant with the construction type. As you noted in the previous meeting, we have to upgrade. We discovered through this whole process that a portion of the building is only 2B. We have to upgrade the construction to 2A, and the area would be compliant, building as a whole, Duffield and Phillips combined. What would happen is we would not be able to have the H5 in Duffield. That's where we would fall down. And the interesting thing is, Tom mentioned, it's the chicken and egg. If we don't get the variance, we don't have a fully sprinkled building, we have to cease and desist with the H5. We're compliant with the notice of violation because we no longer have the H5. So that's why having Hallam do this research, and indeed, we could have taken a more casual view of the H5, but none of us being absolute experts in chemical use, and as you know, these professors, they use some interesting chemicals. And there are certain classifications in the code that if you're doing pyrophorics, if you're doing, class 1 flammables, you have to do X, Y, and Z. If you're not, and part of this, they're compounding these chemicals. So we need an expert such as Hallam to make a determination. Are we actually monitoring everything we're supposed to be monitoring? I mean, the initial walkthrough was pretty positive, but we really, as a university, want to make sure over and above this notice of violation that we're doing everything that we're supposed to be doing in the H5. And that's why we really need this Hallam report. Full-blown analysis of how does Chapter 27 apply? Do we meet all those requirements? And indeed, we are committed to making sure we're in compliance, and also to make sure that we do it with satisfaction to the fire department.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board? Mark, do you have any questions?
I got a couple, I guess. I'm wrestling with. First of all, I don't know if anybody from the Ithaca Fire Department's on and if they would want to speak to this. But the other thing, again, I'm jumping to conclusions since I don't have the history on this, is that I'm assuming Cornell has looked at their H occupancies. Traditionally, higher eds use smaller quantities, but if you somehow triggered yourself into the H, have they taken a look at maybe moving that lab down to a different area or control areas and those types of things? I'm assuming all that's happened, but just need some background on that.
So yeah, we have looked at that. One thing we looked at also is it may be our longer term view to look at, do we actually need H5? It's going to take some time and analysis and maybe some operations changes, but we were to be able to get to an H4 and still be able to accomplish the science we want, that would remove the requirements that are for the H5. So we, in our plan to IFD that we sent, we said that is our like tier 2, stage 2 goal, to continue to evaluate our chemical usage and try to actually lower the areas to H4 if we can. So, because the requirements for this H5 that are out there still are onerous. So, yeah.
Any other questions, Mark?
No, sir.
Yes. Do we have anyone from the Ithaca Codes or Fire Department?
Yes, if you're Joe there.
Yes, I'm here. I'm trying to get on camera here. There.
Yes, and I'm here also, Robert Feldewalt, Director of Code Enforcement for the city.
I'm sorry, who was that speaking?
Robert Feldewalt, Director of Code Enforcement for Ithaca Building Division.
Robert, could you give us your address, please?
Address 108 East Green Street, Ithaca, New York.
And Jillian, can you give us your address, please?
Yes, it's 310 West Green Street, Ithaca, New York.
My name is Rob Cover. I'm the fire chief for Ithaca, and I'm also on. And I am at the same facility as the fire marshal, Chief Haynes Sharp.
Okay, we'll start with the fire marshal. Jillian,
Okay.
do you have any comments?
Yeah. So I think the bottom line is we are concerned about the current H5 being non-compliant. We do understand that there are some things that Hallam, the consultant, will need to weigh in on, such as, for instance, ductwork that may need sprinkling that isn't, that sort of thing. And we do also understand that putting a sprinkler system in takes time. But there were certain items that we didn't get resolved yet regarding the emergency control station and the emergency response team. And we really would love to see Cornell put a detailed plan together and have it be something we can support, because we don't want to be in opposition to Cornell. We want to work with them. However, I feel like I laid out the code requirements after our previous meeting in July in an email on August 9th, and I was really hoping that between then and now we'd have more details about how to comply with that part of it, because that seems to me something that could be done now and doesn't need to have a consultant weigh in on it. Perhaps the consultant could tell us down the road a better way to do it, but for now, surely there's a way to get people in place on the site with the expertise that we need when we come for an event and we need someone to liaison with us and prevent anything bad from happening, or try and mop up what has happened.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the board for the fire marshal? Okay, code enforcement.
I have no other comments at this time.
Rob has no other comments.
No other comments?
With respect to the variance, either the fire marshal or code enforcement, are you neutral in support, opposed to the variance of treating Dewfold as a separate building from Phillips and the atrium? And that's the nature of the variance is asking that question. There's these other things we're looking at, and the variance request is, are you in support or opposed or neutral to Duffield being treated as a separate building from the atrium and the other Phillips?
So yes, Robert Stoldewalt, Director of Code Enforcement, we are in favor of that variance application to treat Duffield Hall as a separate building with all of the mitigation efforts that were proposed in the variance application.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else that would like to speak?
This is Jill again, Fire Marshal. I would just say that from my perspective, the faster the building gets sprinklered and the faster we get the control station and the emergency response team sorted out, the happier I'll be.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the board members for either the applicant or the others on the call? Anything else from the applicant?
No, thank you for reviewing everything. It was a lot of material. I appreciate your comments that we got prior to the last meeting, and we found everything in order. And yeah, thank you for hearing it.
Thank you. So at this time, we're going to deliberate. We're going to go off the record.
Now you go back.
Are you ready to go back on the record?
Yes, please.
Okay, we're on the record.
Okay, thank you. We're going to reopen the hearing. Hearing is in the matter of Cornell University Duffield Hall petition number 2023-0263. With respect to the petition, I would like to make a motion. With respect to the petition of Thomas King, Director of Facilities, Cornell University, petition number 2023-0263, requesting a variance to the following sections of the Uniform Code. Petition pertains to a variance seeking relief for firewall separation to existing adjoined science buildings, construction types 1B and 2B, 4 stories in height, located on the Cornell campus at Duffield Hall, 343 Campus Road, City of Ithaca, County of Tompkins, New York State. Public notice was published in New York State Register's May 31st, 2023 issue. Petitioner is seeking relief from 19 NY-CRR Part 1221, the Building Code, Section 503.1, which states, unless otherwise specifically modified in Chapter 4 and this chapter, building height, number of stories, and building area shall not exceed the limits specified in Sections 504 and 506 based on the type of construction as determined by Section 602 and the occupancies as determined by Section 302, except as modified hereafter. Building height, number of stories, and building area provisions shall be applied independently. For the purposes of determining area limitations, height limitations, and types of construction, each portion of a building separated by one or more firewalls complying with Section 706 shall be considered to be a separate building. Petitioner is seeking relief for a variance to allow the atrium between Phillips and Duffield Hall deemed to satisfy the intent of Building Code Section 706, providing an equivalent level of separation to a firewall. In doing so, Duffield Hall will be considered to be a building equipped throughout with an automatic sprinkler system, which would therefore allow existing laboratories to be regulated under Fire Code Section 3806 for existing sprinklered laboratories. Board makes the following findings. 1, the subject petition pertains to separation to an existing science building located on the Cornell campus known as Duffield Hall at 343 Campus Road, City of Ithaca, County of Tompkins, New York State. 2, the subject building, Duffield Hall, is one of 3 adjoined buildings comprising a teaching and research facility. The 3 buildings are Duffield Hall, constructed in 1999, Phillips Hall, constructed in 1955, and Upton Hall, constructed in 1956. 3, the subject building was constructed to connect Phillips Hall and Upton Hall. The atrium connects all 3 buildings together as part of Duffield Hall. 4, a variance 2015-0102 granted in 2015 separated Upton Hall from Duffield and Phillips Hall via a modified firewall. 5, the subject building was issued a certificate of occupancy by the City of Ithaca Building Department on April 20th, 2007 for Duffield Hall with an occupancy class of C1, C5.1, C5.5, a construction classification of 1B, and a building height of 4 stories and 68 feet. 6, the subject building contains 152,182 gross square feet, inclusive of the basement and mechanical room. The largest floor area is the first floor, totaling 53,177 gross square feet, including the atrium, with floors 2 and 3 totaling 30,148 gross square feet and 31,386 gross square feet respectively, and the balance contained in the basement and mechanical room. 7, the subject building, Duffield Hall, is considered a separated mixed-use building, including B occupancy, research laboratories and offices, accessory H5, semiconductor research areas, 3rd floor, H4 space, added in 2020, 3rd floor, H2, room 301, and A3 atrium. 8, the subject building is considered an addition to Phillips Hall. Duffield Hall has full sprinkler protection throughout, but is not considered fully sprinkler due to the lack of sprinkler protection in Phillips. On the 1st floor, the Duffield atrium acts from Duffield Hall to Phillips Hall, as well as Upson Hall. Bridge connections at the 2nd and 3rd floors also connect the research floors of Duffield to Phillips Hall. 9, the subject building's atrium contains student gathering space with an attached cafe. No research activities take place in the atrium, nor are hazardous materials used within or transported through it. 10, the petitioner states that research activity in Duffield Hall that entails the use of chemicals is confined to the research laboratory space located on the interior of each floor. An egress corridor encircles the research areas in a racetrack configuration with 1-hour fire barrier construction at the corridor walls establishing control areas. Because of this, the corridor acts as an additional buffer between the research space and the atrium. 11, the petitioner states that the fire alarm system in Duffield Hall extends into Phillips Hall. The main control panel is located in the fire control room, accessed from inside the north vestibule to the atrium. There are annunciator panels in the east entrance to the atrium, as well as one at the entrance door to Phillips, just north of the loading dock. 12, the petitioner states that the atrium is separated from the adjacent buildings and the rest of Duffield Hall with 2-hour fire barrier construction, which exceeds the current code requirement of 1-hour rated fire barriers. The atrium acts as a buffer between the research floors of Duffield Hall and Phillips Hall, effectively achieving a double 2-hour fire barrier construction. 13, research activity in Duffield Hall that entails the use of chemicals is confined to the research laboratory space located on the interior of each floor. An egress corridor encircles the research areas in a racetrack configuration with 1-hour fire barriers construction at the corridor walls establishing control areas. The corridor acts as an additional buffer between the research space and the atrium. 14, the petitioner states that chemical use is limited to the laboratories. Research spaces on the 2nd and 3rd floors are separated into 2 control areas with additional hazardous H2, H4, and H5 spaces as appropriate. A service corridor runs down the middle. A portion of the chemical inventory is stored in the H-rated area on the 1st floor of Phillips Hall, as noted in the narrative referencing Phillips Hall general description. 15, the petitioner states that chemicals are transported to Duffield through passageways in the basement and vertically through Duffield Hall via a vertical reciprocating conveyor, AKA material lift to the service corridor. Only chemicals are transported in the lift, no passengers are permitted. Chemicals are not transported through the atrium nor through the egress corridors. Thus, the normal paths of circulation used by building occupants are not used for chemical transport. 16, the petitioner states that Phillips Hall is a 4-story research laboratory building partially sprinklered and is constructed of type 2B construction with a partial basement. 17, the petitioner states that the research activity in Phillips Hall is focused on electrical engineering and is less intense than Duffield from a chemical use and hazard perspective. Storage of chemicals for the laboratories in Duffield Hall are located on the first floor of Phillips. 18, the petitioner states that chemical storage rooms are isolated along the exterior wall. Chemicals are transported between these storage rooms and the laboratories in Duffield via the hazardous research materials transport pathway, which in turn links to service corridors in Duffield. 19, the petitioner requests relief to allow Phillips and Duffield to be considered separate buildings, specifically relief from Building Code Section 503.1, which requires a building to be separated by one or more firewalls complying with Building Code Section 706 in order to be considered a separate building. 20, the petitioner requests that the atrium be deemed to satisfy the intent of Building Code Section 706, providing an equivalent level of separation to a firewall. Thus, Duffield Hall would be considered to be a building equipped throughout with an automatic sprinkler system, which would therefore allow existing laboratories to be regulated under Fire Code Section 3806 for existing sprinklered laboratories. 21, the petitioner states that the atrium acts in a fashion similar to a firewall. Fire barriers on each side of the atrium are rated to 2 hours, exceeding the current code requirement for a 1-hour separation, and that Duffield Hall's structural system is independent of Phillips. Thus, atrium meets the intended objective of the code by separating the chemically intense research spaces in Duffield from Phillips. Separation of Duffield and Phillips into 2 buildings will enable the safe storage and use of chemicals within properly constructed control areas, reduce the need to transport chemicals from the central storage area, and enabling important research to be conducted in a safe and efficient manner. 22, the petitioner has presented that the university is working with their New York State Fire Code consultant to refine their current emergency response team's plan to fully meet the requirements of the code. While the code consultant is analyzing the conditions, the university is taking the following action to improve the responsiveness and knowledge of our existing emergency response team. A, completed additional detailed training on the Duffield Hall toxic gas monitoring system with the EHS Emergency Services Response Team that is on campus 24/7 and dispatched by the Barton Hall Emergency Center, also manned 24/7. The EHS Emergency Services responders are now fully trained and capable of independently responding to and resetting the TGMS alarms. This training will be maintained through quarterly refreshers and drills. B, reviewed dispatch center information with the Barton Hall Emergency Dispatch are working to refine the fire panel communications to Barton Hall to assist in proper dispatching of emergency services to TGMS events. Working with existing, C, working with existing facility staff who manage the TGMS and HPM in Duffield Hall to ensure remote access is maintained to increase the depth of coverage for off-hour events. D, we have engaged with academic clean rooms across the state to gather information on how other research centers are performing their compliance with Chapter 27. Number 23, the fire marshal communicated via email on September 21st, 2023, that the petitioner's submittal lacked sufficient information to abate the fire marshal's recent violations. 24, the local code official has been consulted in this matter and supports the granting of the variance under Part 1205 with the following condition: that Duffield Hall is fully sprinklered by 2000. Yep.
We need to amend some of those findings.
Okay.
finding 12, we could amend finding 12, the state what you said, effectively achieving a double 2-hour fire barrier construction once fire rated assembly improvements are complete.
Okay, so we're gonna add to finding number 12, once fire rated assembly improvements are completed. To number 12.
Then finding 20,
Finding number 20,
which would therefore allow existing laboratories to be regulated under the same edition, Fire Code Section 3806 for existing sprinklers, once fire rated assembly improvements are completed.
so to finding number 20, at the end of that finding, we are going to add once fire rated assembly improvements are completed.
Then finding 21, again, the same, speaks of the 2 hours. After the sentence, thus Atrium meets the intended objective of the code by separating the chemically intense research areas from Duffield from Phillips.
Atrium will achieve the
Yeah.
intended objective once.
Will,
So after Phillips, in finding number 21, after Phillips, we will replace thus the atrium meets. We will say the atrium
will meet
will meet
the
the
intended
intended objective of the code
by separating the chemically intensive research spaces in Duffield from Phillips once fire rated assembly improvements are completed, period.
Okay.
I think the final,
for the
with a
amendments.
fire code official, I would maybe just, because his support was contingent upon inclusion of the mitigations offered in Exhibit A1.
Okay, so finding number 24, the local code official has been consulted in this matter and supports the granting of the variance under Part 1205, under the condition that the improvements be made as identified in Exhibit 1.
A1 dated May 3rd.
A1,
Dated May
excuse
3rd.
me. A1 dated May 3rd, 2023. And number 25, the granting of this variance will not substantially adversely affect the code's provisions for safety, health, and security of the public. In accordance with the above findings, the board finds that in the case before it, strict compliance with the provisions of the New York State Uniform Fire Prevention and Building Code would entail practical difficulties and a necessary hardship, and which of the boxes? Would be, excuse me, would create an unnecessary hardship or would otherwise be unwarranted because such would be unnecessary in light of alternatives which, without a loss in the level of safety, achieve the intended objective of the code. Therefore, I move that the above petition be granted with the following conditions. 1, that an emergency response compliance plan is approved by the fire marshal. 2, that the emergency response plan contains a list of qualified available response team members to the satisfaction of the fire marshal.
And can we modify that, please? That each type includes an alternate person to support the absence of the designated person.
Okay, we will add to condition number 2 that each team member is provided with an alternate that is available for redundancy as part of the response plan. And 3, all elements of improvement offered by the petitioner in Exhibit A1 dated May 3rd, 2023 be implemented as proposed. And lastly, that all other aspects of this building and construction shall be in compliance with the applicable codes, rules, and regulations. Furthermore, it should be noted that the decision of the board is limited to the specific building and application before it as contained within the petition and should not be interpreted to give implied approval of any general plans or specification presented in support of this application. I so move.
Glad to see you.
Do I have a second?
So you move that?
I've made a motion. Do I have a second on the motion?
I second.
Okay, I'll pull the board. Ms. Swistak,
Aye.
Mr. Burton,
Aye.
Mr. Hinderleiter,
Aye.
Mr. Kavanaugh,
Aye.
chair votes aye. 5 ayes, no nays. The petition is granted with the conditions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Hearing now.
Our hearing is now officially concluded. Thank you all for your time today. We will go off the record.
Very good.
The record.
Thank you very much.